Some of the most damaging relationships are the hardest ones to explain, and they don't have to look extreme in order to be deeply harmful. Welcome to the Covert Narcissism podcast, where we make sense of what never quite made sense. If you've been listening for a while, you may already understand what's happening in your relationship. You can see the patterns, you can name the behaviors, but maybe you still feel stuck in the same cycle. This is where coaching comes in. It's not about learning more, it's about having the support to finally apply what you already know and begin moving forward. You need a coach. If you're ready for that next step, I invite you to join me in my coaching program. You can learn more about it at covertnarcissism.com. I'm standing in the grocery store and my phone rings. It's him. He's home with the boys, and I can hear it in his voice before he even finishes his sentence. The edge, the tightness, the "I can't believe you left me with this," and my whole body changes. Right there, next to the cereal aisle. My chest tightens, my hands go cold. I am, in that moment, in danger. Not because anything dangerous is actually happening. Realistically, I am safe, and my children are safe, at least physically. But my body doesn't know that. My body is bracing for danger. Or I'm in the kitchen, and I just got off the phone with one of my good friends. She invited me to dinner and drinks this weekend with a few of our girlfriends, and I accepted. A completely ordinary plan. Nothing special, and this is a thing that people do. You spend time with your friends. Before I've even said the words out loud to him, I feel it rising inside me. The tightness in my chest, the rehearsing in my head of how I'm going to explain this, the anticipation of his reaction before he's even had it. Again, my body is bracing for danger. Or on campus, taking a class, working on my master's degree. One day each week, I had an evening class, and it was the hardest class I had. Not because of the content. Actually, the content was fine. But it was because of how hard it was to focus, knowing that he was home with the boys. Part of me was there with them. Is he in a good mood tonight? Are the boys behaving? How is he handling their energy? How will things be when I get home? Will the boys be in trouble? Will they be upset and shut down? Is he going to be frustrated and short? Is he going to make me feel like going back to school was a selfish thing to do? All of a sudden, that class was really challenging because I was bracing for what I was going to walk back into at home. I was bracing for danger. Now, none of these moments on their own look like much. A phone call, a dinner plan, a class. And if you described any one of them to someone outside the relationship, they might not understand why your body reacted the way that it did. And for a long time, neither did I. But that's the thing about covert narcissism. It's rarely one big moment, it's the accumulation. It's the 100 small moments where you learn over and over that ordinary things, a friend, a class, or an activity, an evening out, they come with a cost. Your body braces for danger over and over for ordinary things with the person who you thought would be your safe person. So your body starts keeping score long before your mind catches up to it. I talk often on this podcast about a fight or flight mode, the survival mode, the hypervigilance, the cortisol overload. And many of us understand by now what that actually is, what is happening inside of us, why we are getting triggered by things that should not be threatening at all. So now I want to dive into what can you do about it. I want to look both at preventative care and care for the crisis moments because both of these are equally important. Now, before we do, I want you to understand something about these 3 moments I just described. My reactions inside were not really about the phone call, the dinner plan, or the class I was taking. They were about what my body had learned to expect. When you're in a relationship with a covert narcissist, you learn, not through one dramatic event necessarily, but usually through repetition, that autonomy has consequences. There are prices to pay. That having a life of your own, okay, a friend, a want, a need, a hobby, a class, all of that comes with a toll to be paid. Maybe it's the silent treatment. Maybe it's the sigh, the huff, the tight jaw that makes you feel like you did something wrong. Maybe it's the must be nice to have friends or must be nice to have the freedom to take a class. Like it's your fault that they don't have friends or that they don't have, the initiative to take a class or start a hobby. Somehow what you are doing is clearly an attack on them, which puts you in danger of retaliatory behavior for something that is normal, ordinary life things. So on your side, this becomes hypervigilance. It's not a character flaw. It's not you're being too sensitive or too much, which, if you're like me, is probably something that you were told more than once. But it's your body doing exactly what it's supposed to do after being trained again and again to expect that connection comes with conditions, that ordinary life comes with a price. The tragedy of it is that hypervigilance doesn't stay contained to the relationship. It follows you into the grocery store. It follows you to your job, classroom, your hobby. It follows you to bed. It goes to sleep with you and it wakes up with you in the morning. Eventually, if nothing changes, it follows you into relationships and spaces that have nothing to do with the covert narcissist in the first place. I want to take just a minute here and talk about what's actually happening physiologically, because understanding it takes away some of the shame that we carry around with us for so long. Fight or flight is your sympathetic nervous system doing its job. When your brain perceives a threat, real or learned, it floods your body with adrenaline and cortisol. Period. That's it. Your heart rate goes up, your breathing gets shallow and high in your chest, blood moves away from your digestive system and toward your major muscle groups because your body is preparing you either to fight or to run. And here's the part that matters most for us. Blood flow to your prefrontal cortex, okay? The part of your brain that's responsible for reasoning, for perspective, for let me think this through. Well, the blood flow to that part of your brain decreases. That part of your brain goes quiet so that the more primitive, faster reacting parts of your brain can take over. This is why you can't think your way out of fight or flight. You can't do it. This is why you can't just calm down. That has never once worked for a single human being in the history of our species. You are not being irrational. You are being taken over by your survival mode. You are having a completely rational biological response to a nervous system that has been trained to expect danger. The problem is not that your body is broken. The problem is that it's working exactly as it's designed for a threat that in this specific moment isn't actually life-threatening, but it is soul-threatening. It is heart-threatening. It is threatening to your sense of self and your sense of safety and peace. Now, it's worth saying here that fight or flight is not the only shape these responses take. Some of you in that grocery store moment would not feel your fist clench or your legs want to run. No, instead you feel yourself go still. You go quiet. You start scanning for the safest way to respond. That's freeze. Or you feel yourself already rehearsing the apology, making the excuses, already softening your voice before you've even heard what they are upset about. And that's fawning. If you've listened to the series I did on the 4 Fs, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, you know that these aren't separate problems. They're the same nervous system response showing up differently depending on what kept you safest for the longest. And I'll put the link in this show notes here for that episode. Go back and listen, even if you heard it the first time, because there's always more that we can take from these lessons that we're learning here. Everything in this episode applies, whether your particular pattern tends to be fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, because underneath all 4, the same biology is running the show. Adrenaline is up, your reasoning brain is down, and your body is bracing for danger. Once you understand this, the goal changes. You're not trying to talk yourself out of a feeling, which, by the way, you can't do. No one can. You can't talk yourself out of feeling resentful or feeling hurt. You can process those feelings, yes. You can work through them. You can, work towards letting them go and all of that. But you can't change how you feel around this person. You can't make yourself feel attracted to someone that you feel resentful towards or repulsed by. So instead of trying to talk yourself out of these feelings or deny these feelings, let's work with them instead. You're trying to work with your body to help it come back down. That means working with the body's actual mechanics, not fighting against them. So what do we do about this fight or flight system that's inside of us? The one that saves our lives and seemingly destroys it as well. Now think about what happens when someone is diagnosed with dangerously high blood pressure. This is a hypertensive crisis, the kind where a doctor looks at the numbers and says, hey, you are at a real risk of a stroke today. In that moment, the doctor doesn't hand you a pamphlet on the DASH diet or a gym membership. That comes later. In that moment, the priority is crisis management. Medication to bring the pressure back down now, monitoring, stabilizing you, making sure you get through today safely. Prevention, the diet changes, the exercise routine, the weight loss, the long-term lifestyle rebuild, that's real and it matters enormously for the future. But it takes weeks and months to build that. And it does nothing for the crisis you're in right now. You cannot lower a dangerously spiking blood pressure with a salad. Healing from fight or flight works the same way. If your body is currently going into crisis every time the phone rings or every time you make an ordinary plan, you don't have the luxury of starting with the long game. You need something now. You need something for today, for the moment that your chest tightens in the grocery store right now this week. So that's why this is going to be a two-part conversation. This week, we're staying entirely in the crisis management piece, the tools you can reach for today, the next time your body goes into fight or flight. Next week, we will build the prevention side, the things that lower your baseline over time. So you need these crisis tools less and less in the future would be part of our goal. But you don't get to skip today to go to next week. You need something for today first, those in-the-moment crises. So let's start there. This is in the moment when your body has already started to take over. And here are 8 tools that you can add to your toolbox for handling these fight or flight moments. Number 1, I call this match and release. Too many times we are heightened emotionally and we force ourselves to stuff it down physically. We white knuckle our way through our emotions. Don't react. Don't yell. Don't cry. Don't show that you are upset. Well, this is part of what keeps our emotional energy so stuck, and it's time to change that. When someone is in an emotionally heightened state, the words "just calm down" don't often help. So the idea of this tool is to raise your physical energy to match that heightened emotional state, and then bring both of them down together. Now, let's talk about this. Throughout my life, I actually had done this sort of thing instinctively, but not often enough to really be mindful of it, and I certainly could not have put words to it. But at our most recent CNG retreat, one of the ladies described this very tool in a way that made so much sense. Think about it this way. When you are emotionally heightened, your body wants to discharge that energy. It's built for it. The adrenaline in your system is meant to be used physically, the way it would if you were actually fighting or actually running. If you skip that step and try to go straight from activated to calm, you're asking your body to do something that it is not designed to do. So instead, heighten yourself physically to match the emotional heightening that you are already experiencing. Let your body do the thing that it is built to do with that adrenaline, which is to have a physical response. Now, this can look like shaking your body out, like literally, like you're having a convulsion, letting your arms and your torso just shake loosely. This mimics what animals do after a threat passes. Have you ever watched a dog who got upset? They shake their body, which is part of how they discharge those stress hormones instead of storing them. Well, I recently actually did this, shaking it out like this while I was laying in bed one night. If someone had walked in at the time, they would have thought I was having a seizure. But I will say it certainly helped my body to feel better and to re regulate. Other ways to do this might be wild jumping jacks, or running up and down a flight of stairs, or stomping your feet hard the way a toddler does in a full blown tantrum. There is something almost embarrassing about how effective this is, because it's giving your body permission to do exactly what it wants to do anyway, instead of holding it in. We often tell our toddlers not to do this, but I think they are instinctively discharging their emotional energy. Maybe we should learn something from them instead. Now, you do this shaking or stomping until you feel the physical intensity start to come down. And here's the part that is often surprising: the emotional intensity comes down with it. Not because you've talked yourself out of anything, but because you've let the physiological loop complete itself instead of leaving it half finished in your chest. Your emotions heightened, your fight or flight kicked in, you had a physical response to it that matched that, you burned some of that energy, and then you let it come down together. Only after that, after the physical energy has actually been discharged, then you move into your grounding exercises. The breath work that you do, or the meditation, or, sensory work. The timing matters more than people realize. If you try to do a grounding exercise like the five senses check in while your body is still heightened, it can actually backfire. You're asking a body that's mid adrenaline surge to sit still and focus on small, quiet details. That mismatch can actually create more anxiety, not less. It's like trying to meditate in the middle of a sprint. The timing is what makes grounding effective. Once the physical energy has moved through you, after the shaking, the jumping jacks, the stairs, your nervous system is in a state where grounding can actually land. Now, obviously, you can't do this in every situation. You can't always stop what you're doing and do a bunch of jumping jacks. That might look a little strange in the grocery store, or in a business meeting, or on the side of the road because you were driving at the time. So I want to give you a few more options. Ones that work when you need something quieter, faster, maybe less visible. So tool number 2 is the cold shock. Splash cold water, and I mean really cold water, on your face. Run cold water over your wrist for 30 seconds. You can also hold an ice cube in each hand or put an ice pack on your face. This is not just a distraction. It actually triggers something physiological. It triggers something called the mammalian dive reflex, which physically slows your heart down. It briefly takes your breath away, like jumping in cold water in a swimming pool, and it constricts the blood vessels in your limbs. All of this prioritizes your blood flow to the heart and to the brain, which is exactly what you need in the moment. We're going to push the blood back into the heart and the brain, the major organs that will help us to re-regulate. Tool number 3 is a deep roar. Now, this one you might not want to do in the grocery store or in a classroom, but you can certainly do it while driving. Let out a forceful, audible roar or growl. Now, it sounds strange until you try it, but vocalizing stimulates the vagus nerve, and it breaks the shallow, high chest breathing pattern that fight or flight creates. You're not just breathing out air, you are discharging some of that activation through your voice. If I'm running from a bear in the woods, I am probably screaming at the same time, and there is a reason for that scream. It breaks the hyperventilating process that often comes with a survival response. Now, tool number 4, I call it squeeze and drop. This is quieter, a much more contained version of the match and release for the moments that you can't shake your whole body out or start doing jumping jacks. For this tool, you clench every muscle that you can, so your fists, shoulders, your jaw, your legs, your abs, your glutes. You squeeze them as hard as you can for 5 or 10 seconds, and then you release everything at once. Now, you can do this in a car while you're driving. You can do it at a desk. You can do it even standing in a checkout line. No one around you will ever know that you are doing it. But it's the same effect as that match and release. It's just a quieter version of it. Tool number 5, I call it circuit breaker. Sometimes the tool is not really even a technique. It's just permission to change your environment, permission to leave, physically removing yourself from the room, even for 60 seconds. Like step outside or say you need to go to the bathroom, go to another room or get some fresh air, sit in your car. This isn't avoidance, it's a circuit breaker. You're giving your body a new environment for a few minutes, and this can make a huge difference. You have to leave the room to go reset a circuit breaker when it flips, and that is exactly what you're doing here. Stepping into a new space, even briefly, can be the reset that you need in the moment. Now, tool number 6 comes directly from trauma therapy. It's called the butterfly tap. You cross your arms over your chest and alternate tapping each shoulder, left, right, at a slow, steady pace. This is a form of bilateral stimulation, which is getting a whole lot of attention right now, but it can shift your nervous system even when you can't move much or make any noise at all. It's discreet enough to do in a public space when you need something that doesn't draw attention to you. Tool number 7 is weighted pressure. Give yourself a firm, full self-hug, or press both palms hard into a wall, or wrap yourself tightly in a blanket. Deep, steady pressure signals safety to your nervous system, which is the same reasoning behind weighted blankets. It's simple, and it can be very effective. Now, number 8 is the curiosity tool. For those who seem to work through things more by thinking, I wanted to give you one thinking tool too. You cannot be curious and reactive at the same time. Those two states cannot occupy your nervous system simultaneously. If you are standing in front of a bear in the woods, you cannot panic and ask, I wonder how much that bear weighs, at the same time. You can't do it. If you start getting curious about the bear, your panic, which actually saves your life at the time, so you don't want to do this, but your panic dies back. Curiosity requires a small amount of the prefrontal cortex function to come back online. It is the reasoning, observing part of your brain. And in that moment that you engage it, even slightly, you start to interrupt the reactive spiral. So for this tool, your focus in the first few seconds is not to calm yourself down, it's to get curious about what you are experiencing. So make a list of some curiosity questions that resonate with you. Now do this part while you're calm and not in a reactive state so that you're prepared when that fight or flight spiral starts. Here's some sample questions. What will happen if I don't act on this in the next 5 minutes? Like, what will really happen? Almost always, the honest answer is nothing catastrophic. But that question alone starts to loosen the grip of urgency. Another question is, why does this feel so urgent? Not, is it urgent? Because in the moment, it will certainly feel urgent. But why does it feel urgent? What is my body telling me is at stake here? You might ask yourself, where am I feeling this in my body? Is it my chest, my jaw, my stomach? Naming the physical location pulls you out of the spinning story and into the actual sensation, which is more manageable than the narrative that your mind is building around this. Another question is, what will make my body feel better right now physically? Not what will fix the problem or the relationship, not what will fix him or her. Just in the moment, what will help my body? And then a question that I find extremely powerful. If I were to give this feeling a name, what would it be? And I mean a more specific name, not anxious. Let's go further than that. Is it dread? Is it grief? Is it fear? Is it being in trouble? Naming it precisely does something that naming it vaguely does not. It brings the observing part of your brain fully online because you can't observe and stay in the spiral at the same time. Use this as a tool to break the spiral before you go too deeply into it. And if it helps, Grab you a list of, all the different emotions that can be named. Make a list. You can find it online or get the emotions wheel, because the more specific you can get about the emotions you're feeling, the more your observation part of your brain will stay online. Now, you don't need all of these tools. You need one or two of them that you can actually remember and reach for when your body starts bracing. Try a few of them when you're calm so that your body already has some familiarity with them before you need them in a crisis. And once you have halted the spiral, that's when you reach for your grounding techniques, deep breathing work, meditating, sensory work, music, and so on. Now, I think about that woman in the grocery store, me, a while back, with her phone against her ear and her whole body bracing. I wish I could go back and tell her what I'm telling you now. Not that the fear wasn't real. It was. Her body had a good reason to expect what it was expecting. But I wish I could tell her that it wasn't a flaw in her. This is a nervous system that has been trained moment by moment, phone call by phone call, kitchen conversation by kitchen conversation, to brace for the ordinary life things. And that these reactions that have been trained inside of her can also be untrained. Not by willpower, not by trying harder to not overreact, but by understanding what's actually happening in your body and by having tools that you can reach for in the moment. Now, if you're standing in your own version of that grocery store right now, phone in hand, chest tight, bracing for anything that's about to happen, I want you to know that your body is not betraying you. It's protecting you based on everything that it's learned. Your body has been taught that it isn't safe, and there is a real reason that it is responding this way. So take these tools and use them. Make a list of them, write them down. Match and release, cold shock, deep roar, squeeze and drop, circuit breaker, butterfly tap, weighted pressure, and get curious. Next week, we're going to build on this with the prevention side. Let's get the immediate reactions more under control now, and then start the daily, ongoing work that lowers your baseline. The ultimate goal is that these moments happen less often, and they hit softer when they do. Now, I want to be honest with you about something. None of this is a one-time fix. I still catch myself bracing sometimes in situations that have nothing to do with him at all. A text that takes too long to get a response. A silence in a room that used to mean that something was coming. These are those old patterns taking time to unlearn. The same way it took time to learn them in the first place. The difference now is that I have language for what's happening, and I have tools that I actually reach for instead of just white-knuckling my way through it. Some days, the curiosity questions are enough. Some days, I need the shaking or the stares or the full physical discharge before I can even think straight again. Both are fine. There's no version of this where you're supposed to arrive at permanently calm and stay there forever. That doesn't work. You're just building a body that comes back down faster and more often than it used to. So I will see you next week for the preventative care here. And until then, I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. If you've been listening for a while, you may already understand what's happening in your relationship. You can see the patterns, you can name the behaviors, but maybe you still feel stuck in the same cycle. This is where coaching comes in. It's not about learning more. It's about having the support to finally apply what you already know and begin to move forward. If you're ready for that next step, I invite you to join me in my coaching program. You can learn more about it at covertnarcissism.com. Your story matters, and you deserve to be heard without judgment. Check out my coaching services at my website, again, covertnarcissism.com. And don't forget to subscribe, to thumbs up, to follow, to like this podcast so that you can get more empowering episodes like this one and to help us continue spreading the word so that our community can continue to grow. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. The information provided by Renee Swanson, Covert Narcissism Podcast, and CNG Life Coaching is for educational purposes only and is not to be used for diagnosis purposes and not intended to be a substitute for clinical care. Please consult a healthcare provider for guidance specific to your case. This material discusses narcissism in general. Renee shares stories from her personal experience as well as from those she has talked with for several years. Her material does not claim that any specific person has narcissism and should not be used to refer to any specific person as having narcissism. Permission is not granted to link to or repost this material to support any allegation or support a claim that any specific person is a narcissist. That would be an unauthorized misuse of this material and information provided.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.